Chances are you want to give up because of no movement. But if you think about it, your manifestation could come in the day after you give up and you haven't realized all the movement you have created. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. We are talking today about why you shouldn't give up on your manifestation, why everything can and will come together, what may be happening, the reasons why I can, totally empathize and understand why you might want to give up on your manifestation. So I'm delving today into why you shouldn't give up, and the final section of this video will be talking about how to get back on track when you're in that mindset. So before we start, feel free to thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot if you enjoy the video. YouTube can keep recommending it, especially if you subscribe. On screen will be all the extra info. So if you want to work with me as a client, I do one-to-one coaching, or you can become an LOA coaching darling where you get exclusive bonus material that only members get to watch, a Q&A at the end of every month. So everything is linked below in the description box. Take a look if you're interested. And now let's start the video. So I'm not here obviously to tell you guys what to manifest and how exactly you have to manifest something. Everything I say is advice, but you will know for yourself if this is something that you actually want and if it makes you happy or not. So I would say rethink what you're manifesting and the reasons behind it. If it no longer makes you happy, you no longer feel motivated or excited about it, that could be, it's a prolonged period of time. Everyone evolves and changes. Your opinions and realizations and lessons learned in life can change, which does sometimes change your goals, a specific person, and it's completely fine to pivot or give up on a manifestation. So I do want to say, it's not this horrible thing and I'm saying if you do this, it's a failure. Sometimes it just means looking to something better. So if it's literally something within your own thoughts and not just doubt or reactions to the 3D, but it's literally something you've been contemplating and the way you feel about it has changed. I have seen this with clients and in my comment section of people saying they no longer want to manifest their specific person. They found someone better. That's just one example, but it can and does happen. So I wanted to start as well by saying that could be a reason, obviously, why you want to give up, and you have to follow your own intuition. So this video isn't to tell you, you have to, because otherwise it's just going to be like starting from zero. It's not, but yeah, think about it for yourself. And of course, the other side of things is the 3D reality, reacting to where you are, your starting point, looking at the speed of movement, basically what you've accomplished visibly, where you feel that you are, even though I'm going to explain why you're not going to see everything for your manifestation, but where you believe that you truly are in the manifesting journey, whether you've achieved success or not, relying on the 3D reality. So my point here would be when you do want to give up, it's important to understand sometimes it's just a reaction, self-preservation, ego, pride, fear of rejection, which is totally human and normal, but you want to make sure you're not looking to the 3D reality for validation. Stop constantly looking externally, waiting for proof, waiting for evidence, or saying, because I'm not seeing XYZ, this is the outcome, this is where I'm at in manifesting. You don't want to let doubt be, the ultimate deciding factor for whether you continue or not. Just because things might seem difficult, the 3D isn't shaping up the way you want it to be. Perhaps you're experiencing a purge where negative thoughts and assumptions are purging to the surface from your subconscious mind. This isn't like this literal thing where thoughts just flood your mind, but through manifesting, that negativity can kind of, just purge itself out to the surface. Your circumstances can look weird. They can look unchanging. So don't let doubt that comes into your mind just from thoughts and reactions. Nothing objective, nothing permanent. They're literally just the thoughts, in your conscious mind coming from the ego. Don't let all of that tell you how or when you should manifest. So what I was hinting at earlier as well is that movement isn't always visible. And that's another important part of this mindset and where you might be right now. You're not always going to see everything that happens. The movement that is happening, depending on what you're manifesting, if it's something intangible like love, a relationship, an SP, obviously there's another person, there's thoughts, there's feelings. Think about what you go through. Do you think your SP would see, and if you know them in any way, or if let's say you met them right now in front of you, would they be able to tell how you feel? Would they be able to know everything that's going on? They wouldn't. So there's a lot of more nuanced, subtle, internal things that happen if other people are involved in your manifestation. But also just remembering the movement isn't going to be this magic spell where it just falls into your lap and you see everything, or, you know, it's this perfect sequence of events. We just don't know. The how is not up to us to control. So try and remind yourself of all these different elements of the manifesting journey, that no one manifestation, no two manifestations look the same. They can happen on a slightly different timeline. Doesn't matter what the person next to you got from their SP manifestation. Focus on where you're at, the quality of your thoughts, and understanding how this process works. And you do want to remember that circumstances, what other people think, other people's opinions, whether it's in society, your friends and family, you know, keeping in mind as well, they maybe have no knowledge of manifestation and they don't understand this process, or they might just say things based on their assumptions and limiting beliefs. We all have some negative beliefs. That's just human nature. But the circumstances you're experiencing, the circumstances in these relationships where friends or family might say something negative, does not define the outcome. It doesn't suddenly change manifestation rules. To analogize it, what just came to mind was that scene in, was it Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, I think, where they're in that maze, right? They're doing the school race where everyone is, I think, racing for the goblet and the maze keeps moving. That, to analogize it, is not what happens in manifesting. You don't have one bad thought, one bad day, one bad conversation, and suddenly, you know, the trajectory and rules of, you know, the goalpost of where you should be focused and what's really happening with manifesting suddenly changes. The principles are there. I know there's theory and practice, but the principles are the key. They are not changing, right? So Neville Goddard, that was like about 60, 70 years ago almost, I believe, his initial teachings, somewhere within that time frame. And they haven't changed. People can interpret them differently, but you know how manifesting works from experience, from hearing testimony from other people. These things don't just suddenly change because someone has a negative opinion. So those are important points to remember as well. Overall, before we move on to the second section, you want to make sure you're not paying too much attention to the 3D reality. It's not going to benefit you. Trying to analyze and unravel everything isn't going to bring this aha magical moment. So remember that it's okay to analyze and acknowledge things and even have mental, emotional reactions, but you don't want to make a habit of it with negative thinking, and you don't want to constantly validate and, you know, pin everything onto what your 3D is showing right now. Because the repetition you're applying is impacting your mind, it therefore has to externalize and impact your 3D reality. You cannot change assumptions and beliefs and have nothing shift in your reality. That's not how it works. That's why people, you know, if they're really confident, they have a better day. They do better socially. They usually achieve more. I think there's a lot of like scientific studies and social studies done on this. If you present yourself as confident, you're more likable, and it's kind of like this domino effect. So if you think about it on that basic level, just not possible to have a more positive disposition, positive mindset and thoughts, and then nothing changes in your 3D reality. So what happens internally is reflected externally. That's, again, a key principle of manifestation. So remembering, if you're putting in the effort, you're putting in the practice, which I'm sure you guys are doing at least something for a manifestation technique, repetition is the key element. Repetition is literally changing how you think. So that is where everything stems from. So remind yourself, it's just not possible that nothing is changing if you are putting in the internal changes. And then to also remind you guys that ultimately, because you are in control of your reality, your thoughts, where you want to put your focus, you have that autonomy and freedom, obviously. So you ultimately decide, and you can change your mind. So you can change your mind overall about what you want to manifest, about going on this specific manifestation experience, as I said at the beginning. But also because of that, you can decide and put in the effort to manifest what you want and say, no one can stop me. No one can control my life for me, right? Your thoughts are controlling your life. So to speak, in manifestation terms. And they are, well, your SP or whoever is involved in your manifestation, they are conforming because of the repetition you're putting in. So remember, it might not be visible, you might not see it right now, maybe it's even really slow, but it is happening. Before I move on to the final section about what to do to really propel things forward and get out of this kind of mindset, another fact that really gives me comfort and peace, and I know for a lot of people, some of my viewers have even fed back on this, if you do have religious beliefs, knowing that God created us with infinite possibility, an infinite possibility for what our realities can have. Everything is already in creation. Nothing that we would want and would make us happy or fulfilled or be a success in life is withheld from us, or saying, this is impossible and you'll never be able to achieve this. It just wasn't made that way. So I also like to turn to God for support during, manifestation or figuring things out. And that gives me an extra layer of peace. Something you'll want to put your focus into is being more resilient. If you struggle with this, if it's very up and down, you have a lot of doubtful thoughts, just focusing on being strong-willed, resilient, disciplined, and a stricter mental diet comes into that, because it's about successfully applying the techniques, not just ticking off a list, but knowing I'm changing my mind. This is why I'm doing it. This is where my motivation stems from. Understanding the reasons for why you're doing what you're doing with manifesting, and being resilient, knowing I'm going to persist through the 3D reality. I'm not going to let it hold me back or push me down or decide for me that here are the circumstances, therefore, I'm struggling with manifestation. So focusing on having a stricter mental diet where you flip those negative thoughts back around. And if it's also impacting you emotionally and you just feel like it's a mental strain, and that can also obviously be very demotivating, trying something like guided meditations, which I do talk about now and then. I recommend it to clients every now and then if I think they might struggle with this. A guided meditation to refocus, calm your mind, just reset in the moment so your mind isn't going 100 miles an hour, ruminating, getting anxious, trying to, jump to those negative assumptions. You want to kind of stay on top of that, and a guided meditation can be a really good time. I know it might seem like it's, a momentary thing and it's not going to suddenly change everything, but if you can switch to that, even just 1 or 2 minutes of meditating, getting into that mental state, focusing, staying in the present moment, it can really change things around a lot. So just calming yourself down, saying, it's okay, I don't need to panic or catastrophize this situation, and refocusing. Tying into that on a slightly longer term process, maybe even just like a couple of days, you can take a break, take a step back, refocus, because it's not supposed to take over your life and be miserable. You can get back to persisting at any time. Obviously it's not about giving up and then just letting whatever negative thoughts pop into your mind, but knowing I can take a break. It's okay. Like, you're not being forced to manifest. You are in control, as I said. So take a few days to reset, focus on yourself, maybe prioritize self-concept, and then get back to your manifestation, because you can get back to persisting, and the answer doesn't have to be, stress myself out or give up. So I would either recommend that or taking a step back, reevaluating everything. And if it really doesn't make you happy, as I suggested before, and that's where you're at, it's totally fine to just stop affirming as well. Overall, I will say just be focused and clear on what it is you want, what the goals are in your life. Put your head down and focus on it. Get to work and try and enjoy it and make the most of it. And then if needed, obviously take those breaks. But that is going to be today's video. I hope you guys found that reassuring and enjoyable. If you did, please do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye.